topic of today is basically wage equity and determinants. And one of the reasons why this is very important is that a lot of people, I'm in public health, but a lot of people don't really realize how wage plays a big role in social determinants of health, other parts of your life determinants, and including life expectancy. So all these are connected. And as we go into the 21st century with all the technology coming up on board and everything, I believe that we should express how we feel in terms of wage equity, and also perhaps, hopefully, making a lot of cases on why there should be focus on wage equity so that a lot of people can pursue their dream, and also not just pursuing their dream, but also have more like a commensurate salary based on their determinants to pursue their dreams. So this is the topic of the day, sponsored by Popaholic. So I often start with a quote. These quotes, the first quote is by John F. Kennedy, and he said, let us not think of education only in terms of its cost, but rather in terms of the infinite potential of the human mind that can be realized through education. Let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us, there is a private hope and dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation, J.F. Kennedy. And then Klaus Moser said, education costs money, but then so does ignorance. Another way to say it is, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Why all this is true? I believe wage should be correlated and commensurate with the level of formal education. Otherwise, it is simply an accumulation of knowledge and debt. This is the reality. I intentionally put in formal education because we're going to talk about it. There's other ways people can acquire knowledge, which is informal way to acquire knowledge, and often it doesn't cost like our formal education costs for those that receive education in a formal way. Now, for us to talk about determinants of wages, there are certain things that plays a role in determining wages. One of the stuff is market trend, educational level, years of experience and skill. We can talk about compensatory factors or variables. In these compensatory factors or variable, that will include the type of job that person is doing, the shift they're working. For example, people that work in clinical setting, there's different shift, graveyard shift, have different salary range or incentives. Job-related health risk is also determinants of wage and pay. Some people work in industry that are very hazardous working setting. Also, special skills, languages. Now, a lot of organizations compensate for those type of skills. Then we have geographic location. And geographic location is very important, even within countries or between countries. There's different salary based on, obviously, cost of living index and GDP of a country. So even within United States, there's also differences in per state. California, New York, Mississippi, they all have different cost of living. And then we have in-demand skill set. There are certain demands or skill set that companies or different type of job setting need to be able to perform that job, that also accounts to why there's differences in wage. Now, I also decided to look what are the other things that might also impact the job, and I focus more on the compensatory factors on variable. And I looked at the 10 most dangerous job that we know based on data and it shows that lodging workers, in terms of fatality at work, is highest at 82 per every 100,000 people. And then this is in descending order. So they classify this type of job. We have roofers is 56. The lowest is electric power line and installers and repairers. They die at job at 22 per every 100,000. And then you can see the corresponding average salary for this group based on mortality at work doesn't actually correspond to the risk at the job. Now, why I focus also on education is because there's a mentality we have developed that, push everybody to go to school, which is great and noble thing to do. People should be educated and have basic education. People with dreams of earning a higher degree should pursue that dream. But at the same time, you can come to the reality and say to yourself, after you accumulate all this education, is the system we have designed to compensate people based on their academic achievement. And when I looked at student loan for associate degree and bachelor degree, I looked at it based on race groups, and I realized that, in fact, African American and Black people has the highest debt in student loan. For associate degrees, about 54.3%, and for bachelor degree, it is 76.1%. So that's really high compared to any other racial group. And then I also looked at, okay, among those that have education, and this is National Center for Education Statistics, among those that have education, what are their average, and I go into this previous slide I showed, what are the average monthly student loan repayment by race? Again, it comes down to, obviously, as you see, the African American has the highest loan. On average, they pay more, $250 compared to any other racial group. Obviously, simple math based on the amount of loans in African American Black community. Now, sources of education debt, 96% of education debt is from student loan. There's a lot of student loan, people pay their student loan with credit card and will be on credit card debt and interest. Some people use their home equity loans to go to school, about 4%, and other sources of loan is about 11%. So when I looked at the student loan accumulation over time in the United States, it is a little bit jaw-dropping. Overall, federal student loan borrowers in hundreds of millions. You can see that if you look at the cumulative debt of student loan is about $1.76 trillion for student loan in the United States. And I also looked at this for California, where I live. The student loan is about $156 billion in California. And each state will be different. So the bottom line is educational attainment and debt. For associate degree, on average, $23,500. Bachelor degree is $21,566. Graduate degree is on average up to $102,400. And then when we look at those with graduate degree holders, a total of those with graduate degree holder, they're about 60.5% postgraduate loan. In addition to that, 54.2% of those also have undergraduate loan. Master's degree holders, about 60% owe a federal student loan for their graduate school, and 52.8% still owe undergraduate degree loan as well. Professional doctorate holders, 74.5% owe federal student loan for their graduate degree, and 73.5% still hold their undergraduate degree. And then for doctors in medicine, 81% for graduate school debt and 80.3% for unpaid loan for their undergraduate school. Now, let's say somebody went to school, graduated, have their degrees and all that stuff. You will still be under certain tax bracket. You're still gonna pay your income tax that everybody pays. That we know that. And let's say, for example, somebody is in the bracket of 6 figures, and your income tax will be around 24, because that's 2021 income tax bracket. And then so we know that all this, your income, your education, everything correlates to life expectancy. As you acquire knowledge, you know a lot of stuff about things that can help you live a quality life. And we realize that life expectancy over time has been increasing for many countries. And for example, the United States actually dropped, the life expectancy of the United States dropped to, I think, 76. So compared to previous years. But if you look globally, let's say in Africa, majority of life expectancy in Africa on average is below 60 years old. So why is this important? This is very important to me when I was looking at it, because it takes us to this slide right here. So in 1935, President Franklin D. Roosevelt secured Social Security Act in 1935, and this included a retirement age is 65. But then in 1935, the life expectancy for people is actually 60 years, 60.7 years. So I'm thinking, why did this actually pass? You know, life expectancy for people is 60 years old, and the retirement age was, at the time when this was passed, was 65. So many people will die while working. I mean, it's interesting that we always want to talk about life, but we don't want to talk about death. It's reality, it's inevitable, it's going to happen. And when we make decisions of our life, or in our life, we need to account for certain things. So it's surprising to me this act actually passed with the life expectancy at the time. But I went further to look further, and I looked at how did retirement age came about. It came about in Germany in 1889. And 1889, they still passed similar law. I think it was about 70 years old for retirement age. But in 1886, the life expectancy is about 40 years, or even some country below 40 years. So again, the system is developing all this stuff that there's no scientific evidence that's logical, that ties to at the time what they were creating, that we end up adopting right now in 21st century. So moving forward from this information, I looked at also student loan payment by educational attainment, right? So as you go in higher educational level, your student loan increases, unless if you pay for your student loan as you go because your parent has money, or you have money and then be able to pay. But at the same time, what is produced must consume, and what is consumed must be paid for, right? So at the end of the day, somebody has to pay it some way or the other. So for doctorate degree, on average, the loan repayment program is about 1,173. A professional is similar, 1,172. So this is the reality of things. So if you go to school, this is depending on the level of academics where you are. This is what you expect on average to be paid. I'm not talking about extremes. I'm looking at the on the average, right? And the average actually for all this is highlighted in dark red, whatever this color is, but it's 901. So I also went ahead to look at earning by educational attainment. So we already know, depending on your degree, what your loan repayment will be, ballpark, the average will be around. And then I look at, okay, well, any person comes out from the academic endeavor, get a job, what is the earning? If I look at the earning per week, it was about, actually, this is the 2021, this is 2022. So 2021, depending on academic, you can see doctorate is 1909 and it goes down. And then in 2022 data, it actually went up a little bit. For doctorate, it's about 2,000 some change, right? So that's what the earning is. If I take the doctorate, that means around, if it's 2,000, about 6,000 on average on weekly basis, medium for per month. So I went ahead to do case study, select one job, set up job classification. In this case, I selected a research scientist position. So research scientist position, I looked at different categories. They classify research scientists. There's other categories like research scientist 4 or 5 and so forth, but I was able to get a lot of information on these 3 research scientist position. And when I looked at this, you can see the requirement for this PhD, and 0 a doctorate, or 0 to 2 years experience. And each one has this. So I look at each, I highlight the medium for these categories of academics. And let's say somebody with PhD is a research scientist 1 and making 6 figures, but then these 6 figures fall under 24% of income bracket. So if it falls under 24% of income bracket, that means that this person automatically, out of 107, this person will be paying $25,000 or roughly $26,000 in federal tax. So that leaves that person with $80,000. And then that doesn't account for the student loan. So if the student loan, that person is paying about 1,000 something or close to that, that about 14,000 out of this 6 figures. So that leaves that person roughly around 5,600 or anything less than that, that they will take home. Yet, I haven't even accounted the state tax, the car loan, if that person has a car loan that they will be paying. So if you account that, the end up money that person will be keeping will be much, much less. And that person will be lucky if they're saving like 1,000 every month from the salary. So, and you account for other cost of living or living expenses, it might even be way lower than I mentioned. So I also went ahead and looked at, okay, what are the jobs, and this is all focused in the United States, not international, but what are the jobs that are high-paying jobs that, people can look into, especially young people that are looking into a career that's lucrative and have good salary that is commensurate to their education. I got this list of job in public health, biostatistics, computer IT system, making very good salary, 100, starting 151, doctorate degree around 80,000, and so forth. So these are the type of job. Attorney is making about on average 126. Then I went further to look into other aspects of what I classify as determinants of wage equity, and I look into gender. So I wanted to see what is the pay differences between white men is the reference that every single dollar a white man makes, how much does any woman make? I'm not even accounting men of other racial group. I just use women as a qualifier here, but white men as the reference, right? So I really ignored this right here, the uncontrolled gender, because the uncontrolled is not really a point I'm going to focus on, because the control is better, because the control, what they did was they stratify it by the experience the women have, their educational level, and a lot of stuff, and compare it to men. And I was surprising actually to see that it was close. So this is paid $1 every white man earns. These are by, since 2015, this is how much women are making. And it's increasing. At this point right now, it's about 99 cents per dollar. When, where's the next one? This is not moving. Okay. So I said, okay, let me also look at pay equity by gender and educational to white men. So again, I look at the one classified by education and by degrees. All these are degrees by women. And this is white men. This is the control, the blue, dark blue is controlled by education and any other experiences in job setting. It was really close for most of the degrees. Law degree, for every $1 a white man makes, women in law makes the same amount of money. So law is exactly the same as men. But any other profession with different degrees are really different, lower than $1 every white man. So when I also look at pay equity by gender and race, and I look at white men per dollar they make, I was surprised on this, because what I saw is Asian directors actually making 104 for every $1 a white man makes, and then for individual contributor 102. Any other group of women in different race group is not even making. I mean, it's 0.84. It should be 1 in reality if things are all equal, but the other ones are not even close to what Asian women are doing here. The only one that was, even for executive among Asian women, is 0.85. So I don't know what is going on here. The secret of the sauce they have that any other group of women, a different racial group, don't have. Then overall, the lesson learned in this is that we need to actually be proactive. Our company should proactively analyze and review wage gaps. I think it's important, because if we want to get to pay equity, there should be a proactive analysis on all this stuff to be able to make sure, as cost of living is increasing, people should be getting what they deserve, and this should be commensurate to their academic achievement, regardless of whether regardless of gender and regardless of racial group or ethnicity. We know it's easy to say, but we still live in real world in the United States. A lot of stuff is not the way it should be. And then we have to also advocate to determine an organizational compensation philosophy, right? What does this mean? We need to start leveraging market data to inform pay decision. I believe that I'm in public health and I can speak on this, most of the salary in public health in different departments is not actually comparing salary that is equivalent that other similar profession makes in private organization. So that right there is a big gap, because that's why I feel like people that work in public health are super underpaid, and there's no comparison in terms of external and independent comparison between the salary of a profession within public health and external private sectors. There should be access to intersectionality of geographic location. That means, and this is also common in public health, you see somebody that live in, I take for example, public health here in California, you see cost of living in San Francisco is different compared to cost of living in Sacramento or cost of living in LA. But you see that the salary of people within this field are the same regardless of where you live, and that should not be the case. Structure, pay scale, and salary band based on objective market research. Again, continue market research to see workers or staff value. What did they bring to the organization or company, and they should be paid equitably. So that means implement internal structure and policies on equitable best practices informed by research and data. Flexibility for justifiable adjustment based on education. This should be a must, because otherwise there's no need for people to actually go to school. People can go, we can design a new system. Why don't we people go to training, get out of high school, go to training for a particular job, and then get the job? They don't have to suffer this burden of a student loan. And when you see it, by the time somebody will go to school, come out, you think they're making six figures, but they have this big loan they're paying. And by the time they pay it, they're actually struggling. Their salary will neutralize, like somebody that may have a good job, doesn't have the academic. Now, I'm not downing anybody's skill. I'm not downing people that didn't go to school. People don't have to go to school and still be successful. There's many stories about people surviving without academics. They have a great job. What I'm saying actually is that if people actually end up acquiring certain skill in academics, and academics actually is also part of experience, because as you go to school, through all that school process, you're going through internship while you're going to school, have a lot of experience. It's just like when we talk about equity, we need to be realistic about what we're talking about. Otherwise, we're just pretending that we want equity, but actually we don't want equity. We need to commit to pay transparency in any organization, internally or externally, increase demand for wage transparency, salary commensurate with educational level, salary commensurate with experience and tenure. I think these are important. This will not only increase people's effort in a work setting, but also it will support younger folks for the need to acquire skills and knowledge and be able to enjoy their life and have a good quality of life. Because at the end of the day, if people have a lot of debt, it translates actually to their quality of life. A lot of people are in chronic stress, just thinking about student loan alone, or thinking about how much they owe from going to school, and their pay is not really commensurate. It defeats the purpose of the joy of thinking that the system is pushing us to acquire knowledge. But then when you come out, you ask yourself a different type of question. You are now living in the real world. What is the commensurate price for this? Yeah, you already have the knowledge, but in reality, in life, you need money to survive. You need money to live, and you need money to support your family and so forth. So all this information I presented will be on Papaholic website. I will also post this podcast on YouTube, on Papaholic Show and Podcast. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our channel. These are the references where I get this information that I presented, and all these references will also be posted on Papaholic website. And now, before I do that, the upcoming podcast will be on cell differentiation and redifferentiation tissue engineering of articulate cartilage. And these are professors from University of California, Davis. So save this flyer or save this information on your calendar. It will be on September 30th. This is a very good study that they've been doing. And Papaholic will be the first place they're going to share the study. So this is going to be exciting. So now I'm going to open this up to open discussion so people can ask questions, make comment, and share their thoughts.
Dr. Amalu, can you hear me?
I will stop sharing, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First, Dr. Amalu, thank you so much for creating this platform to discuss wage equity and the determinants. Very informative. And I think in terms of, for me, in getting my doctorate and spending 18 years in college and not having the financial, sustainability from my family and solely depending on federal loans, it does affect, quality of life. And so I just like to, try to stay on the side of solutions and just knowing that, we repeat what we don't repair. So this is a great platform to discuss some of those things that have been repeated and some solutionary conversations and how we can repair this wage gap that unfortunately continues to widen. So thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Dr.
This
Florence.
is Mbangowa. Yes,
Mbangowa,
Florence
yeah.
Mbangowa. Yes. Yeah, I want to first of all give you an applaud for doing this. This is a job well done. I appreciate all the time and effort you put in. But while listening and looking at what those numbers are and how the numbers continue to decline, I'm just thinking outside the box and looking how can we further improve to make this not happen, because we are already in it, and we can now start looking at those numbers and start exploring and seeing what we can add to stop this from happening, because it's really not a good thing that we will go to school and carry all the student loan, and then you see this salary difference with somebody who does not have that education. It continue to climb and ours continue to decline. Even in the job market, when you stand with them, you see that they employ them more than you, because when you go put in an application, even if you go to the IT and learn the IT, you put in an application, somebody would like to hire someone who has a lower degree, because they're just scared that when you come, you're not going to stay on the job market. So we have to start exploring ways to combat this situation. And I was looking at the first thing that I had in mind is we can start looking for venues to create our own jobs, to make sure we work for ourselves and not going to other people to go look for jobs. And how can we start? We can start in a medium like this to see what we can come together as a group and start working to creating that job for ourselves and making sure that we go to that marks that we went to school to be. And we can do that. It's just that one hand cannot do it. Many together, we can do it together. And that's what I was thinking. That's a suggestion that I had in mind. And I said, I'll bring it here so that we can start working towards that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mbangawa. I believe you 1000%. I think the way the situation is right now, when I look at this number, for any person with graduate degree, is depressing. It's totally depressing. You know, the only thing you have is that you now have the knowledge that nobody can take it away from you, you know. But in terms of the commensurate wage, that looking at these numbers, it's not even something that should be discussed, or we should not be begging for this equity. It should be automatically known to account for academic debt and cost, right? And say, hey, you know, there's no way you can be in a situation where somebody that have a master's degree or PhD should be making the same salary as somebody that have, you know, associate degree. And there's no way somebody that have associate degree should be making a salary as somebody with high school degree. You know what I mean? On average, there's an exception whereby there's something else other people do exceptionally, but I'm trying to just stay on the back of, you know, on the average part. There's always exception. There's still, it doesn't matter, you can have master's or degree and you still might not have the skill set to perform at a job. The degree alone doesn't propel you for, you know, doing a quality work. There's a combination of things. But if I look at on the average, you know, people with degrees, PhD, doctorate are not really compensated appropriately, proportionally based on their education. And coming back to your suggestion, I think that's a great idea. And that's why people like us should start looking into starting certain things and getting a lot of like-minded people together, because at the end of the day, the debt we already accumulated in grad school will still stay. It's still our debt. You know yes. What I mean? So it's still a debt yes. you have to pay. And I don't think anybody that has gone to that level is complaining about the debt itself. It's not about that. The complaint is that you come out, you're not getting a job that's commensurate to your degree in terms of salary. Everybody wants to pay their debt. It's just like the way the system is structured is not equitable, right? And that's the problem. But your suggestion is very, very welcome. And I would like to talk to you privately about this, because there are certain organizations and opportunities I'm looking into for, you know, a lot of people and a lot of different classes. So we can talk about it offline.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, great point. Any other comments? Okay, well, if there's no other comments that anybody wants to chip into, somebody calling with a number, but I don't know where that number is from. I don't know, that person is on mute. I don't know if they want to say something, but okay. If there's no other comments or suggestion or insight, then I have to close. And please don't forget to come in on September 30th to have a very good discussion with University of California, Davis, to participate in their discussion about the research they're doing. This will be a very, very good discussion in coming weeks, and they've been doing amazing studies. This platform is the first platform they're going to discuss this study, So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you all will attend that particular podcast. That being said, I wish everybody, we cannot end it early today at 12:48, but I wish everybody a wonderful weekend. And if you have any comments or anything, you can send me an email. I'll go to Popoli Podcast and leave a comment, and I will look into that. That being said, thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.